Same.
Do you have Jon Snow as well?
I have it too.
Yes.
There we go.
It's the first one that
Dude,
matched.
given that there is a list that we both looked through of 100 Game of Thrones characters to just get 11 and have them not only like in the same team but in the same position, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I'm happy with that.
I think it says a lot about Jon Snow's quality. Hello and welcome to What the FC. Clearly, that is not normally how I intro our podcasts, but that intro is a very special tribute to someone that is very important and has been very important to the American soccer community in general for a really long time, Daryl Grove of the Total Soccer Show. Today's episode is going to be a tribute episode to Daryl, who has been battling cancer for the last 2 years. Just last Monday, Taylor Rockwell, his co-host on Total Soccer Show, announced that he was moved into hospice and his doctors couldn't do anything anymore. And on Thursday night, he unfortunately passed away. And we lost a very, very inspiring figure in American soccer in general. Not even just American soccer podcasting, just American soccer in general. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people have had really, really great memories, including myself. I've had great memories of listening to Daryl talk on the Total Soccer Show for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when we first started talking about doing an MLS 101, or not MLS 101 miniseries, excuse me, but when we first started talking about doing a podcast, he was really one of the first people that inspired me to give me the confidence of like, oh, wow, man, like he just gave me so much energy and I felt like I was a part of the room. And being a part of that room, I felt like I had something to say. I felt like I had a seat at their table when they were doing a podcast. And that's where I got kind of the courage to start talking to you about doing this. And I mean, I was listening to a lecture earlier today and they were talking about what really inspires people. Like why is someone inspiring to us? And oftentimes we can't name it. Like I struggled to try and name some of the things that Daryl Grove really embodies that I want to mirror, because he just it's a lot more complicated, because he was passionate, he loved soccer, he was compassionate, he was very kind and very friendly, he was selfless, and he was just fun. He was very knowledgeable and well thought out. He was just such a well-rounded person, and that doesn't even begin to touch on the character of Daryl. And so it's with the heavy hearts that I send my thoughts and prayers to Daryl's family, to Taylor, and the whole Total Soccer Show community. Yeah. And are there any memories that you have? Yeah. Just Daryl, I think you summed it up a lot there. Daryl was a lot more than just an American soccer podcaster. Yeah, exactly.
He contributed a lot more to this world than just that, even though that was just such a major contribution to the soccer culture here in the States. But he was just such an amazing person off of it. He tackled his entire cancer battle with such optimism. He was always talking about how other people had it worse, and he was trying to keep an optimistic outlook. And it was just really inspiring to see him go through that. I think Taylor on their Twitter timeline shared a memory recently of an episode that they did where they got a 1-star review, and they were talking about this 1-star review, and the 1-star review called them soft. And Daryl was so excited to talk about this soft review that they got on that 1-star review, because he was just so appreciative that guy had called him soft. He said, we really need more softness in this world. And I just think that really sums up Daryl's outlook on life, the way he was so empathetic in his interviews and the way he approached any topic that they discussed on the podcast. He tried to find the softer side of it, the lighter side of it, which I think we could all use a lot of. Yeah, exactly. And he was never condescending. Even if he might have been a little bit more knowledgeable about something, he would disagree, but he would do so gently. And I think, especially in today's climate, I mean, that's something that we could all learn from and try and utilize and spread the good positivity and the softness to our friends and family. I totally agree. I think that's going to be my memory that just really sticks with me from Daryl, is trying to remember that it's okay to be soft sometimes. It's okay to find the softness in things, and really try to find those types of things. But we're not going to spend the whole podcast with a somber tone here, because I don't think that's what Daryl would want to do. When me and Matt heard the update podcast from Taylor about Daryl's situation moving into hospice, we started talking about, obviously we need to talk about him, right? Because he was such a major inspiration to us. The way him and Taylor bounced back and forth off of each other, we modeled our entire chemistry off of that. I mean, they are the ideal model of chemistry behind the mic, but for a dual host podcast.
Yeah.
And so obviously we needed to do something, but we didn't want to sit here and just talk for ages and share sad memories, because I don't think that's what Daryl would do if Daryl was doing a tribute for someone else. He would try to find, again, the softer and lighter side of life. So one of the cool things that Taylor shared when he announced that Daryl had been moved into hospice, he shared an episode that they recorded together, and they did this quite often, and it was one of Daryl's absolute favorite things to do on the show, and that was take some sort of random fictional universe that they both had watched and loved, whether that was a book series or a TV series most often, or that kind of thing, and take the characters and choose starting 11s off of them, and then argue their starting 11s against each other and argue their reasoning. So Taylor played the Parks and Rec episode, which was one of Daryl's favorite shows. And so me and Matt thought, let's do something similar to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so we are going to be doing the Game of Thrones series written by, if you are watching on video, we have all the books right here. And written by J.R.R.
George.
Martin, or no, I was thinking of Tolkien. Jeez. George R.R. Martin. Excuse me. But yeah, and then also adopted to screenplay as a TV show on HBO that ended a year or two ago.
Right.
And
obviously hugely popular. I think pretty much everyone in everywhere was watching these as they premiered every Sunday. I know I just watched them in one 2-week period with my mom.
I've watched it twice, 2 or 3 times. I watched it once over a summer, and I didn't do anything that whole summer. I would just watch it, go to work, come back home, watch it, and then wake up, go to work, and repeat.
I read them actually before I ever watched them, so I'm kind of one of those original you should read the books before the series kind of people, just so you guys know about me. So I actually read them in high school. I was that kid that carried a book around with me between classes, and I would get to class early and read until the teacher started lecturing. So that's when I kind of read them. That's when I fell in love with them. And then recently, this past summer, I watched the TV show, and I was actually really, really pleased with it. I thought it was an amazing adaptation. It was clear that George R. Martin was involved in it. But.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it's one of the best series in terms of character arcs and developments, and you just get to have such passionate relationships with these characters. And so there are going to be a lot of spoiler alerts in this episode when we're describing a lot of the people in our teams.
We'll throw that in the kind of the show notes. If you're planning on watching Game of Thrones, I would go ahead and star this episode or save this episode or download this episode on your podcast app or save it in YouTube and come back and watch it later after, because we're going to have some pretty major spoilers for you if you have not seen the TV show or read the books yet. Yeah. So just your disclaimer there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're obviously pretty excited about this. We've planned our teams all week long, and we just have been boiling over with excitement. We've been struggling to not tell each other our positions and the people we have in positions, because it would ruin the organic nature of this recording. And I think that's to kind of bring it back to Daryl. I think that's how Daryl would want it, right?
Exactly.
This is the most excited we've been to record an episode the entire time that we've been podcasting so far. And I think that says a lot just about, kind of the way Daryl approached things too. And I think he'd be happy that we're having so much fun with this tribute to him. So
exactly. And so for me, this whole week when I was planning and looking into the team, I just re-listened to a couple of their episodes where they would do the Fantasy 11 or Fictional 11. And I was just the whole time thinking, what would Daryl do? What would Daryl do? And he just was so witty. He was able to, he was punny, so he inspires me. And so he has a pretty good dad joke repertoire. And so I was just the whole time just really thinking about him and really cherishing his memory, and just inspired to try and do him a service and make sure that this episode isn't just some throwaway or something that doesn't look like we wanted to honor him. And so kind of carrying that responsibility, but also celebrating his life and his creativity.
Oh yeah, 100%. So the way we're gonna do this to get into it for you guys now, both me and Matt decided to use a 3-5-2.
Yeah.
Because that worked out. It happened to work out for both of us, and that makes it easy for you guys to follow as we go through each position.
Yeah.
We're gonna start with the goalkeepers, work on up through the defenders, the midfielders, to the forwards, and then we've got some couple honorable mentions. I've got a bench. We've both got like managers. We've got some kind of throwaway stuff at the end for you. So let's get straight into it. Matt, who do you have putting on the number 1 jersey for your Game of Thrones Fantasy 11?
All right, so I'm going to preface this in saying that this was the single hardest position because I didn't feel called to put anyone in there. I mean, obviously I forget the name of it, but the giant that lives north of the wall.
Yeah.
I was like, that'd be an easy one. He's just he'd take up the entire goal, so you just couldn't get it past him. But I thought that was pretty shallow, so I ended up choosing Brienne of Tarth.
Okay.
As my goalkeeper. And like I said, it was probably the most difficult for me to choose because I didn't have enough conviction to be like, oh yeah, that's a great pick. But this is what I ended up on with 4 or 5 different ideas. And so she was the only daughter in her family. She was the only child in her family, and she was a daughter.
Right.
And so she is abnormally tall and muscular is what the description of her was. And so she wasn't deemed as ladylike within Westeros. And so she ended up adapting to that and embracing her size and her athletic ability. And so she became a knight or a knightess. I don't know what it is called.
Yeah, just a knight, I think. Yeah.
And so she vowed to originally protect Renly Baratheon. That didn't end up very well.
That didn't go well for her.
The horrifying scene of the shadow assassin or whatever.
You got a proper Hope Solo back there, though.
Yeah, exactly. So she'll beat the crap out. I mean, wait, never mind. I'm not going to go down there. That's a little bit too real. Oops. But moving on. Because of her unusually muscular and tall figure, she turned into a fierce warrior, like I said.
Yeah.
And she would be a great goalkeeper. She would have quick reflexes. Would have to have quick reflexes in battle, like you've seen throughout the whole series. And she would pledge fealty to protect that goal from anyone. She would do it.
She does not break oaths.
No, yeah, she does not break oaths. She's not an oath breaker. So that is my keeper.
Okay.
I think it's decent. It's not the best, but who do you have?
I'm actually pretty excited about mine. I actually did not have this same struggle that you did. My goalkeeper just chose itself. Okay. So my goalkeeper is Tormund Giantsbane, the famous wildling leader and chief lieutenant of Mance Rayder, the King Beyond the Wall.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I think all goalkeepers, if you're a goalkeeper out there, all goalkeepers need to be a bit wrong in the head.
Yes.
A bit wrong in the head. And if you know Tormund Giantsbane, he's definitely a bit wrong in the head.
Yeah.
And ultra intimidating. So he just checks both boxes there. He's going to relish coming to claim some crosses. He's going to be aggressive off his line. I see him as a bit of a Manuel Neuer type. He's really going to be a big sweeper keeper for me. He's not just going to stay on his line. But I think most importantly, Mance Rayder once nicknamed him Hornblower for the power of his lungs. They said he can laugh the snow off of mountaintops. So can't you just see us conceding a goal and Tormund popping up and just ripping my back line and it's also going to be vital for him to communicate with my back line. And also his humor is going to be great for the locker room.
Yeah.
Good team morale.
I agree. I think that's a good pick.
I think as you guys can tell, I'm really excited here about Tormund in goal.
Yeah. I think shout out to Sebastian Kalk from Queens. He definitely, I think that they have a little bit of something in common. They're absolutely mental when they're on the field. If you're messing up, you're just going to hear it. I remember playing center back in front of Seb, and oh my gosh, I was more scared to do something wrong, so I was not getting yelled at the entire time, but also a great character throughout the entire series. You get to love him and see that he has a compassionate and well-spoken person in terms of he just will do anything to protect Jon Snow. Eventually, at the end, they become buddy-buddy.
Yeah.
And I really think he's a great character. That's a good start.
Oh, it's a good goal. I feel good. I feel good about my goalkeeper.
I'll concede that one. I'll concede that one to you because that was the one thing I didn't like about Brienne of Tarth was she's not psycho. And goalkeepers, they got a couple screws loose up in their head. So
I feel like Brienne's just going to be pretty consistent for you, but she's not going to win games.
No.
And I think Tormund's going to win me some games. He might lose me some games.
Yes.
But he's going to win me some games. All right, let's move on to the center backs. We have a back three here. So we've got a central center back and two outside center backs. We're going to kind of do these together because I think both me and Matt feel like our back lines kind of operate as a unit. We chose them kind of as a unit. So my central center back.
Your sweeper, yeah.
My central center back is Cersei Lannister.
Oh.
Yeah, Cersei Lannister. Okay, Cersei Lannister, the oldest daughter of the pretty evil Lannister family, mother to a couple kings, Joffrey, Tommen. She's pretty fiercely protective of, to a fault, pretty power hungry, but very mistake prone. So I think Cersei, without a doubt, formidable opponent. She's going to strike fear into my opponents for sure. She's going to be intimidating back there, and she can command respect and communicate from the center of my back line. She's used to pulling the strings from the background as the mother of two kings, right? She was very power hungry. She kind of used Joffrey and Tommen to advance her own goals throughout the series, and I think she's going to serve a similar role in the center of my back line. But she is pretty power hungry, and it's a trait that you see throughout the series, kind of leads to some pretty critical mistakes because she doesn't like realize her own weaknesses, and she just like tries to go. So that's why I've got her in the center of my back line. I see her as my David Luiz, brilliantly talented and brilliant in the middle of a back three. If you put her or put David Luiz in a back four as a center back, they get exposed. But I think with my two center backs next to her, she's going to be nice and protected, and she can play to her strengths. She can be a ball player. She can pull the strings from back there, and she's going to do a great job at central center back.
I feel like she's going to be one of those center backs that whenever there's a striker, she's just going to be like, pinching them, like pinching their back, maybe step on their toes or whatever. Just like very small manipulative stuff like you see with Sansa in the first couple seasons when Sansa's becoming part of their family. And you're like, oh gosh, is this person nice? Is this person just absolutely cynical? Just a lot of mind games. I feel like she would be much more of a mental defender in terms of getting inside of the opposing striker, inside of their heads.
Yeah, for sure. Let's just swing it over to your central center back real quick, and we'll come back to my outside center backs.
I don't know. I can't give my central center back without giving my...
Okay, just go ahead and give your whole thing. I'll come back to my outside center backs.
So my left center back and my right center back.
Okay.
They are the Clegane brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Mountain and the Hound. So these are twins, or maybe twins, I think.
I'm not sure if they're twins. I actually think the Hound's the younger brother of Gregor Clegane, the Mountain. Yeah.
And so they're brothers. They're absolute giants. And through the beginning of the series, they're just the King's Guard for the Lannisters.
They're like the enforcers for the Lannisters.
And so they have zero regard for anyone's well-being. And so throughout the series, the Cleganes are ruthless and savage beasts with little to no regard for others' well-being, like I said, acting as our in-house version of Pepe and Vidic. Opponents will be lucky to leave the field standing.
Proper enforcers.
Yes,
proper enforcers.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I won't get into too much more detail about them because I feel that's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But they hate each other throughout the series.
True.
There's an epic fight at the end of the series in season 8, spoiler alert, when the entire King's Landing is just crumbling and they're in this tower and
pretty epic scene.
Yeah, and they don't care about anyone else, about the war that's going on. They're just fighting each other and it's just really weird. It's like, do y'all really hate each other that much that you're just going to be standing in a tower that's just falling down?
So thus you've got them on opposite sides.
Yes. And so the only person I think responsible enough and up for the task of getting them to not try and bite each other's head off or crush each other's heads, as the Mountain would probably do, is Mance Rayder in the center of the park, in the center of the defense. Yeah. And so we all know how much the Clegane brothers hate each other, as we've already established. So we need a great communicator and leader to help them in line. Dubbed the King Beyond the Wall, Mance Rayder led the northern wildlings led the wildlings south beyond the wall. Like, who else could get all the wildlings band together and fight their common foes.
Oh yeah, like literally throughout the series, no one really believed that the wildlings were banding together, but Mance Rayder's like the first person in history who ever takes all the different wildling tribes and bands them together under one banner. Proper leader of men, that guy.
Exactly.
A good choice for the center of your back line.
Yes, exactly. And so he would be able to communicate the collective mission, like you said, under one banner with the team at the back line. And he would be able to distribute task, but also distribute the ball pretty well. A ball playing center back like David Luiz.
Yep.
And so he would be kind of like our Tony Adams and Carlos Puyol in terms of being just a leader who is passionate and able to get people in line. Like with PK, there's a video, Sergio Ramos like punches or slaps. He slapped Puyol in the face in El Clasico, and PK goes up to just lay Ramos out. And
Puyol just pulls him
away,
right?
Back and it's just like, no, we're playing a game. Get back in line. Focus on the mission of winning this game. And so I think Mance Rayder would be perfect in order to get those brute force powerhouses of the Clegane brothers.
Okay, that's a good choice. So my outside center backs, remember I've got Cersei Lannister in the middle. Really great at pulling the strings from behind the scenes. So a great ball player, very David Luiz, very mistake prone because she's so power hungry. So I need two just absolute steady rocks beside her who are not going to make any mistakes, that are not going to be like, they're not going to show up on the stat sheet. They're just going to be there and
my bad.
Sending the mic flying over there. Wow. All right, so we've got Tywin Lannister on the right side, and we've got Ned Stark on the left side. Two just completely pillars. Just
next to Cersei Lannister?
Next to Cersei Lannister. Okay, I understand. I understand that there's some conflict here, okay? But I feel like I've got some other people on my team later on that are going to try to help band my team together, all right? And remember, I've got Tormund behind them, keeping them in line. Okay, so just two pillars on the outside of Cersei Lannister. Basically two characters that throughout the whole series just epitomize strength, wisdom, steadiness, right? Definitely on opposite sides of the moral compass.
Yes.
Right? You've got Ned Stark on kind of your good side and Tywin Lannister on your bad side. But I don't think you can argue that they are both extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
Always are making the right moves. Obviously, until spoiler alert, Ned gets his head chopped off. He's a bit naive at times. And
then Tywin gets shot by his son with a crossbow while on the loo.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. So, I mean, they met bad ends, right? But throughout the series are very steady, wise characters. Yes. And then I think they're both not going to be afraid to engage in the dark arts a little bit, right? Tywin Lannister is not afraid to throw a little elbow into your ribs, stomp your cleat a little bit. He's going to get in your head. And Ned Stark, as we see at the beginning of the show, the opening scene of the show is Ned Stark. He refuses to let other people do his executions. He uses his own greatsword Ice and chops off a wall, someone who fled the wall. He chops his head off right at the beginning with his great sword, and so he's not afraid to get his hands dirty either.
No.
So I think both of them are going to be great pillars to put next to Cersei, and they're going to engage in the dark arts a little bit and let Cersei kind of do her thing and float around and play the ball, and I feel pretty good about my back three.
I don't know, man. I have some questions about the back line because I feel like there's just going to be, you need your back line to be solid. And so having Cersei in the middle, she's already power hungry and she hates her father. And so you already got that bad connection going. And then you got Ned Stark, who Cersei killed. She employed to kill and played him like a fiddle in the Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
And so I feel like, I mean, obviously I don't have like the most palatable or like the less dramatic back line in terms of like Clegane brothers. Yeah. But I at least have them separate on opposite sides with someone common in between them. Maybe will calm the storm.
I think I'll address your point here towards the end.
Okay.
When I talk about the other people in my team, and especially when I talk about my manager.
Yeah.
And I'll give my argument for how I think this can be held together for long enough for us to see success.
Okay.
I have some issues with you. You are not going to be able to play out of the back worth crap. You've just got two absolute brutes on the outside of your back line. You're just going to have to be lumping it long past them.
Hey, nope, not until you know who my midfield is, and then you'll just see that all we have to do is just pass it 10 yards to their feet, then they will be able to take the trouble trouble from there. I think Mance Rayder is the one who's going to be as that central pivot.
Yeah.
Just like David Luiz, he plays central because he's a ball player. And same with Mance Rayder. He's the more elegant and technical. He's not as much of a brute as you can see in the series. And so I think he'll be acting as that position for me. Maybe it's obviously inverted of yours, where your outside center backs are going to be distributing it.
Yeah.
My outside center backs are more of just hone in, make sure that you're covering it.
I think my outside center backs are actually going to be just pretty capable.
Yeah.
And Cersei's going to be the one that's going to want to be on the ball. She's going to want to pull the strings. She's just not going to want to defend that much, which is why I've got Tywin and Ned next to her. Right?
All right,
I think that's my problem.
I see it. I see it.
Okay, we've beat the dead horse enough here.
Yeah.
Let's go on to our wing backs. Go ahead.
All right, so starting on the left,
Okay.
I have Khal Drogo as my wing back.
Oh, that's all right. I need
Spoiler.
to sell it to me. Sell
Yes.
it to me, because I'm not convinced just hearing it. So
okay.
sell Khal Drogo on your left wing back for me.
All right, so cult hero of the show and a personal favorite of mine. I wish that his arc would have gotten continued, but unfortunately, he got poisoned by an evil witch or whatever. Long story short, rest in peace. And Khal Drogo was Dany's first husband, Daenerys Targaryen, the main protagonist and antagonist at the same time. It's a great show because it depends on what episode you're on whether or not you're on the Dany train.
Yeah.
But anyways, he is the call of the Dothraki horde. So pretty much just think of Mongolian empire.
Yeah.
That's kind of
basically
what they
it's
emulate.
modeled after.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was a fearless warrior who would do anything to protect his Khaleesi, his wife.
Okay.
And he's strong and swift. Khal Drogo is the perfect embodiment of the modern fullback who has to be able to bomb up the wings. He's mobile, he's swift,
Yep.
and join the attack, but also be aggressive on defense. So you got to have someone that's able to put in that tackle, who's able to shoulder someone off, as well as want to get forward. So it's a really hard position, especially at wingback, but he does both very solid.
So my question for you is, when he overlaps down the left and he gets to bomb on down the left, does he get his horse?
Of course. Yeah, he's got to. Like you can't just say,
because I do feel like without his horse, he's not quite as not going to bomb on quite as much.
I mean, he's giant, like he's very strong, but I feel like his fighting style, because you think whenever he's fighting the person who was insulted by Khaleesi or whatever, who was like trying to free the slaves or whatever.
Yeah.
He just absolutely pwned that guy. And he just he just dodge and evade all his attacks, and he's swift. I don't think he's
all right, well, we'll give him his horse. So Khal Drogo's going to get on his horse. He's going to actually
bomb up the wings.
Normally you figuratively get on your horse, but he's going to literally get on his horse and bomb on the wings. Who do you have on the right?
And on the right, I have Ygritte.
Okay.
Yes, Ygritte. So
you know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yes, you know nothing.
You know nothing.
A fan favorite of the Game of Thrones series. Ygritte is a fiery, quite literally, given her bright red hair. She's a fiery and loyal markswoman. I don't know if markswoman, a marksman. She's good with a bow.
I don't know.
I didn't know if it was marksman or markswoman. She's a woman, obviously.
Yeah.
She's a woman of the free folk from north of the wall. So she was a wildling.
Yeah.
And she was also madly in love with Jon Snow.
Right.
And she's quick-witted, which would be a great personality to have in the locker room, given the fact that we already have kind of a dark mood with all of our people so far.
Yeah, you definitely you need some humor in there.
Yeah, so she will help brighten it up. And one of the most important traits about her is that she doesn't let her hatred for the Southerners deter her from understanding the common cause. Part of that thing with Raider.
Mance Rayder.
Mance Rayder, excuse me. And so she, instead of just trying to kill all the Southerners or whatever, she's like, I just got to get everyone. I got my mission, and then follow the mission. She also is in love with Jon Snow, and she doesn't let being betrayed by Jon Snow deter her decision making and killing him. She could have easily killed him, but she just put a shot, an arrow in her shoulder, and she's so lethal with a bow. And so I have her as our resident Trent Alexander-Arnold because she can get forward and ping a ball with absolute precision, a David Beckham on the wing type player. And so she'll be able to give us that attacking flair, maybe not so much on defense. She'll get it done just like Alexander-Arnold does. It's not really the most convincing on defense, but he knows his role well enough and is drilled by Jurgen Klopp to at least, suffice in the back line. So that's who my wing backs are. How about you?
Okay, interesting. So I have one of my wing backs, I took a similar type of track to you, and the other wing back, I took a very opposite track to you. So my similar one first. On the right side, at right wing back, I have Braun. Sir Braun.
Yes.
Yes. He is initially a mercenary who rises to prominence under the service of Tyrion Lannister.
Okay.
He becomes really famous when he represents him in the trial by combat at the Eyrie. He's by the end, he becomes Lord of Highgarden and Master of Coin. So he really climbs the social ladder throughout, okay? But Braun is just highly trained, extremely lethal, and unafraid to take risks to rise above his station, as we see throughout the show. And so his ability to take risks at the right time and understand when is the right time for me to take this risk to go forward and overlap down the right side, and then he's just got the innate skill and ability to execute once he's in those areas, is going to serve him really well. But he's not afraid to put in the dirty work wherever necessary. You see that throughout the show. So as he's constantly having to track back, put in a lot of running, I think Braun's going to do it. He's not flashy.
No.
Right? Which is why I don't have him as a winger or a number 10, but he's going to be highly, highly effective. So I'm really excited about Braun being on the right side. I see him a bit as my Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. Mm-hmm. I don't think you would say Trent Alexander-Arnold is exactly the most skillful player in the world. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't really say he's the best defender in the world, but he's constantly in the conversation as best right back in the world. And I see a similar type of narrative arc here with Braun's character.
My only thing with Braun is that he's a mercenary, and so his heart is only where the gold is. And so when I feel like the game is getting tough, his heart's not going to be fully in it, and he's going to be one of those people that gets in his own head and quits halfway through the game. Or if things aren't going well, he's not going to be there to stick around very long, as evident when with Tyrion Lannister at one point. I think it was at the Blackwater, the Battle of the Blackwater. Mm-hmm. He just starts off. He's like, I'm not getting paid enough to do this. Or at some point, I remember him just leaving.
See, but I'm okay with having a little bit of that mercurial status as a wingback.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? He's not going to hurt me as much if he has an off game or he takes a play off here and there, because I've got him out there as my wingback. Okay, so on the left side, as my left wingback. All right, so for this one, you have to look beyond, and I know it's hard because this show is so based around like physical attributes and stuff.
Yeah.
But we had to look beyond physical attributes with this one, because that's not where I'm going with this one. My left wing back is Tyrion Lannister.
Gotcha.
Tyrion Lannister is obviously a dwarf who is the youngest member of the Lannister family. He is pretty much one of people's favorite character a lot of the times.
Yeah, me too.
And he similarly to Daenerys, he rides this line between good and bad throughout the show, and he's just highly intelligent, and people obviously love him. But he's throughout the show seemingly one step ahead of people at all times because of his intelligence. And I think this is going to mean, as my left wing back, he's going to be great at decision making and great with interceptions. He can make up for a bit of his lack of athleticism with being one step ahead constantly, which is basically what he does in the show the entire time. He doesn't have the physical stature to intimidate people or fight in a trial by combat, but he's always thinking ahead and has his plan in place for how he's going to get through situations. So I think he's going to be great there. Similarly to Braun, he's not afraid to take risks. He takes risks throughout the show, and he's not afraid to do the dirty work a bit, right? He's not afraid to kind of get in the weeds, right? Like I'm thinking that scene for sure.
Yeah.
So he's going to be willing to track back and defend. I think both Braun and Tyrion are going to be much more attacking minded than defensive minded. Similar to yours, I'm okay with that because I'm playing a back three.
Exactly.
Again, Tyrion isn't a flashy type of player, but he is pivotal to pretty much every major happening in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's in every single character arc at some point in it, and so he's pivotal. Yeah, I
exactly.
agree.
But when you're talking about the characters in Game of Thrones, no one really ever appreciates how pivotal Tyrion is to their play.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really see him as a really influential left back, where left back is not typically a position that gets the Ballon d'Or, or people are always looking to like, wow, he affects the team so much and he does so much for the team, but he's going to be pivotal to the way that I play down that left flank, the way my players combine down that left flank. So I really see really good parallels between Tyrion's character in the show and being a left back or left wing back in the game at a higher level.
Yeah,
so.
I think those are two pretty good picks. I don't really know. I'm not drawn to mine more than yours. I think they're pretty even in their own regard. Khal Drogo is going to be my Adama Traore, just a physical beast to shred people off and just get up the wings. And then Ygritte is going to be my Alexander Arnold.
I'm kind of annoyed I didn't think about Ygritte's marksman abilities. I didn't even consider that when I was thinking about it, and that's a really good comparison.
I had her originally at striker, but
I don't think she's a big enough character.
Yeah,
for
no.
that.
And so I need someone who's a little bit. You'll see later on, but
okay.
I reshuffled her into wing back, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. I think I'm really happy with this. But moving forward,
I've been talking long enough.
Yeah.
We're gonna go one position at a time now. Who is your number 6? Who is your defensive midfielder?
My defensive So my defensive midfielder is going to be Euron Greyjoy.
Okay.
And so,
Sell me.
Yes. So after murdering his brother Balon Greyjoy, Euron was named the commander of the Lannister fleet and was a critical figure for disrupting Daenerys' forces from taking the capital, King's Landing, at times that you wouldn't even see him. So, spoiler alert, Daenerys has her dragons like flying up in the air or whatever around her ship. And it's like, oh yeah, this is really cool. They're going to go and take King's Landing. It's going to be awesome. And then this just, I think it's like a ballista or whatever, just like an arrow, giant arrow, just pierces through the dragon's heart and kills it.
Right.
And you see Euron Greyjoy's formidable ship pulling around the coast. So, although he appears later into the series, he would be an unstoppable force as a holding midfielder. Similar to the former Irish international Roy Keane of Manchester United, he is ruthless in his pursuit of his niece and nephew, Yara and Theon,
right,
and would similarly pursue approaching opponents with his iron feet. Instead of his iron fleet. All right, I had to put that in there. But although he isn't the smoothest, like when he tried to flirt with Cersei Lannister and, get with her.
That didn't go well.
In season 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Very, very not smooth. But he proves useful on the battlefield and will be a key figure on the team.
Okay. Interesting.
How about
you? My number 6. This position just shows itself. This was the first name on my team sheet and will always be the first name on my Game of Thrones Fantasy 11 team sheet, no matter the opponent. My number 6, my defensive midfielder, is Grey Worm.
Oh, that's a good pick.
So Grey Worm is the chosen commander of Daenerys Targaryen's Unsullied, which is a warrior eunuch force who are trained as slave fighters since a young age, and she basically frees them and commands their loyalty for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, like, who else would I want shielding my back line than Grey Worm? Give him a task, he's going to do it. Yeah. You don't have to ask him twice. You sometimes don't even need to ask him. He just knows exactly what needs to be done in a certain situation. He's not going to do it in a flashy way, right? I mean, they have like the shield and the spear. It's not as fun as the knights with their swords and that kind of stuff, but it's effective.
Yeah.
And he's going to get it done. He's going to have no problem sitting in, taking hard yellow cards, and giving my more creative attacking midfielders license to roam and go forward. Importantly, Grey Worm is also intensely loyal. I think probably the most loyal character in the entire series. Just because, I mean, he will literally do anything that Daenerys asks him to do.
Yeah.
Part of that's due to his training, and part of that's because Daenerys frees him and all of his teammates it's definitely not teammates. I don't know what the word is, but my thing though is I see Grey Worm as someone that we brought through my youth teams, and if I give him his first shot in the first team, he's going to be a club lifer. He's going to be with my club for the rest of his life. He's going to be a proper Francesco Totti.
Okay.
For my Game of Thrones Fantasy 11, right?
I think a Daniela De Rossi would be a more accurate.
I mean, Totti was just the first club lifer that I thought of, right?
Yeah.
But that's how I see Grey Worm, and he's always going to be in the team, and he's always going to shield my back line and take those yellow cards. And I think we're probably going to be hurting when he's out on yellow card suspension inevitably.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think he could be more of like I would have done like an N'Golo Kante comparison.
Yeah.
Someone who's not flashy, but someone everyone loves. If you've not seen N'Golo Kante, just look up a video of him riding a bicycle. He always has a smile on his face, and he just has like a childlike wonder, and is just happy to be there. But when he needs to get his hands dirty, he'll get it dirty. Evident with all of his yellow cards and red cards and horrible tackles that he'll do just to break up plays. So I think that Grey Worm is a good pick. I'm similarly happy with Euron Greyjoy.
I'm a little concerned about kind of your quibble with Braun and with some of my other players about are they going to go missing in big moments, which Euron Greyjoy kind of only shows up when it's good for him, right? So I've kind of got the same quibble here for you.
No, you think so? That he acts like, oh, I've seen the undead or whatever in season 7 or in season 8, and it looks like he leaves, but it's all a strategic thing, and he ends up coming back because his loyalty is with Cersei and the Lannister fleet. Not only because it's the money's there or whatever, but it's something that he thinks he's going to win with. So as long as we have something that feels competitive to him, I agree. Okay. In that sense, that he might turn off for those games where he's just like, we have no chance in winning, and he's not going to be that creative spark that leads everyone. Yeah. That's not what I'm asking of him though. At the 6, I got Mance Raider behind him for that.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I'm going to go to my number 8, my box to box midfielder. In my number 8 role, I have Jon Snow.
Same.
Do you have Jon Snow as well?
I have it too.
Yes.
There we go.
It's the first one that matched.
Given that there is a list that we both looked through of 100 Game of Thrones characters to just get 11 and have them not only like in the same team, but in the same position, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
I'm happy with that.
I think it says a lot about Jon Snow's qualities. I mean, I'm going to read off my qualities, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to take every single talking point that you have. Jon Snow is the bastard son of the Stark family who ends up becoming the commander of the Night's Watch, and he's pretty much like the major kind of good guy protagonist of the entire film, or the entire series, I mean. He's just a completely inspiring leader. Jon Snow's my captain, for sure. Like, without a doubt, Jon Snow's wearing the captain's armband for me. I'm going to play him right in the middle of the field. He's very versatile, and he understands the right things to do in hard situations and difficult situations. So I have no doubt that he's going to work back defensively when he needs to. He can contribute to the attack when he needs to.
Exactly.
And he's just going to be my perfect captain.
Yeah, and pretty much your first 3 lines were the exact same things that I typed on my document. So the only thing that I put differently is that he has like quiet leadership. He's not a very verbal leader like Ned Stark, or I'm trying to think of any of the other leaders in the series. I think the Starks are all leaders in their own embodiment.
Like Robb Stark was much more of a like stand up, kind of give an inspiring speech, and that's not Jon Snow. Yeah. Jon Snow's going to do it in the quiet moments. He's going to come to a guy in the locker room when he needs a little bit of a lift.
And more importantly, he doesn't seek the approval of those around him. Yeah. He was a bastard son. He didn't seek the approval of his mother or of his I guess what would that be?
I don't know, like stepmother, I guess.
Stepmother, I guess. He didn't seek her approval. He didn't seek anyone's approval at the Night's Watch. He did what was honorable, similar to Ned Stark. Yeah. At no cost. Right. And so moving to our next position, attacking midfielder. I wonder if we'll have the same person for this one as well. I put Oberyn Martell.
I really considered Oberyn.
Yeah.
I really considered. I'll let you explain Oberyn, and then I'll go to mine.
Okay, so Oberyn is also known as the Red Viper. He is the prince, or was the Prince of Dorne, and sought to avenge the horrible murder of his sister Elia Martell by I think it was the Mountain.
The Mountain, yeah.
Yeah.
And he ends up fighting the Mountain in single combat, and basically beats him, but then he gloats too much and then gets his eyes crushed. Basically, it's kind of brutal.
Yes.
Sorry for the
and that was my next line. I said most notably remembered for that scene with the Mountain. And he was renowned for his skill with a spear, his unique fighting style, and his understanding of poisons. Due to his brief time at the Citadel when he studied to be a maester. But he was just too flamboyant of a lifestyle to stay in the Citadel. So he just took what was useful for him and then went out and became a mercenary or whatever. But for our side, he is known to have a hot temper and a flamboyant personality. And so he would be pivotal for providing the attacking flair and balance in our midfield because we have Jon Snow. He's not a flair player. He's a player that gets stuff done. Euron Greyjoy is not a flair player.
Nope.
He's just
gets stuff done again.
He gets stuff done again. So we need some creative mindset in the midfield. And what he'll do with his technical skill and his understanding of his opponent's weakness, he's just going to leave them on the floor and just gloat at them. Similar to what he did with the Mountain, maybe to his own demise.
Right.
He's going to be similar to Neymar for us at the cam position, like at PSG.
Yeah.
He's going to give that jogo bonito, that pretty playing style, the Brazilian flair that is very polarizing. You have people that love watching it but hate playing against it. So he's going to get some kicks in the ankles, and he's going to be on the floor a lot of time.
That's a good choice.
But yeah, let's just hope his spot in the locker room is far from the Cleganes.
Oh. Yeah, you kind of have a tinderbox here, right? You've got Gregor Clegane, the Hound. So you got the Mountain, the Hound, and Oberyn in a little triangle here. That you're gonna have to be really strategic about the way you place.
We got the two best leaders of Jon Snow and Mance Rayder. So I'm really hoping,
really,
and then also with my head coach choice, I think that we'll be able to get everything pinned in.
We'll see what you have. My number 10 is Peter Littlefinger Baelish.
Pulling the strings. I like that. That's a good one.
So Littlefinger is the lord of a really small time house, but he rises to prominence as the master of coin under multiple kings through brilliant but pretty sinister manipulation. That's basically what he does the whole time. He's just pulling strings, trying to manipulate people and rise to power. He's probably the cleverest character in the entire series outside of Tyrion, I would say. I would say him and Tyrion are probably about on the same level of just ability with manipulation and thinking steps ahead and all that kind of stuff. Varys as well is probably a good shout for that. So I'm pretty confident this is going to translate into an innate ability to unlock defenses with creativity and flair.
Yeah,
I'm pretty confident about that. Also, as someone who rose to prominence from pretty meager origins, he knows what it means to grind and work for what you want. However, he is pretty arrogant and flawed, ultimately, as we see his clever plans crash down around him as Sansa finds him out and executes him. Yeah, one of the best scenes of the series. I mean, because Sansa has such a good redemption arc, and so for her to have that one climactic moment where she breaks free, it was pretty cool. So because of those flaws that Littlefinger has, I see him as my Mesut Ozil. Undeniably brilliant, but ultimately flawed. And so he's a bit of a luxury player for me. But similarly to you, I've got Grey Worm and Jon Snow sitting behind him. So I think I can afford a bit of a luxury creative player who's not going to do a lot of defending in front of them.
Yeah, you got a good balance.
And just let him roam a little bit and combine with my forwards and my wing backs. So I think that's a good exchange there. So I'm pretty happy with my number 10 in Littlefinger.
Yeah, I think that's a really good comparison as well with Mesut Ozil. Very relatable for me. And yeah, I mean, I think both of our number 10s are good in their own right. You just went for Ozil, I went for Neymar, and both are extremely world class and just to their own faults.
I mean, that was my thought. If we'd done 4-3-3s, Oberyn would have been in my starting lineup without a doubt on the wing. I would have had Oberyn Martell on the wing, and I would have had Dario Naharis on the other wing. That was going to be my wingers, but obviously we didn't end up doing that, so no one cares.
Yes.
So let's go on to our two number 9s or two center
Yeah.
forwards. I've been talking long enough, so give me whether you want to give one of them or you want to give
I'm
both.
going to give both of them
Okay.
really quickly. I'm just going to go ahead and read what I have on my
Okay.
sheet. So, first up, we have Grey Worm.
Oh, so you went with a totally different track.
I went with a different track. So, a personal favorite of the show. There are so many fan favorites on the show. It's very good if you're okay with a little bit more grotesque violence and some, a little bit steamy love scenes and whatever and love arcs. But the character build in the show is so good. You have 8 seasons and they're all hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
Some more than that. And so, anyway, Grey Worm, like we've already established, is the ultimate fighting machine. He's a machine.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so he's the unwavering force and leader of the Unsullied. We've already talked about that. And so he might lack the flair and drama of Oberyn Martell. So
Right.
he's going to be connecting with him, obviously. So it's in the attack. He's gray. He is just going to get the job done and no colors about it. But he is no less crucial and effective. And he gives a level-headed balance to our attack when helping our, more flair-driven players.
Yep.
If they're having a bad day, we
Yeah.
need someone that's going to be able to just get stuff done when the opportunity arises.
He's going to deliver pretty much no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
while Oberyn might give you a hat trick one day and then basically no show the next day, Grey Worm, your theory is that he's going to get you a goal a game.
Yeah, if he gets the good service.
He's like Harry Kane.
Yeah, I put him as Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah.
And so Robert Lewandowski.
Or Thomas Mueller, maybe.
Thomas Mueller is a little bit more flair. He's more
Yeah,
inconsistent,
yeah.
but Robert Lewandowski is just on a tear. He
That's true.
scores like it's for fun.
Yeah.
He has more goals already this season than Arsenal, Manchester United, I think Chelsea, and a bunch of other teams.
he's
There's some
ridiculous.
list that came out today about that. But
Yeah.
anyways, the strike partner he has is Arya Stark.
Okay.
And so Arya Stark is the daughter of Ned Stark and known for her unladylike behavior.
Yep.
Arya has always had to be a fighter, whether that be cultural or societal norms. Being a woman, she's more of the tomboy esque child compared to her sister Sansa, especially.
Right.
And having to escape, King's Landing after the murder of her father in season 1, she has that grit and ability to, get dirty with the defenders and stuff, but evade them and everything. Many times she goes unseen, which has led her to develop a savage and relentless ability to fend for herself. This is most evident when she avenged the slaughter of her family at the Red Wedding.
Yep.
She went and killed all the male lineage of the Frey
dope.
line.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit dark.
Yeah.
Let's get on something more positive. Arya's cold-blooded and sneaky nature make her the ultimate fox-in-the-box striker. And so she's quick and decisive in her movements, and she'd be able to deceptively cut through opposing defensive lines and finish with deadly accuracy. Also, her vision would enable her to thread the needle.
Oh my God.
Gotcha. There we go. And her sword that she has, or I don't even know what. It's a sword.
It's a short sword. It's a short sword.
And she calls it needle. So she'd be able to thread the needle and be a great strike partner with Grey Worm. She's like a hybrid between Manchester City's Sergio Aguero, Jamie Vardy of Leicester City, and Arsenal women's forward Viviane Miedema, who is an absolute machine. And so she has the positional awareness similar to Aguero. She has the tenacity and the killer instincts like Jamie Vardy and Viviane Miedema. And so I think that fox in the box. And just to clarify, I had a really funny story with last time I mentioned fox in the box. So my mom was listening to the podcast and she texted me, "What's a fox in the box?" Because we had used it to describe maybe a player from
I don't remember
one
what
of
we
the
used
teams.
it for, but yeah.
And so I was like, oh, it's just a person who makes really quick darting runs in the 18 and is always in the right place and is very clinical or whatever. And she was like, oh, I thought it was just like a really cute striker or someone who's like a little bit foxy or whatever. And I was like, oh.
Oh, gosh. Out here exposing your mom on the podcast.
Yes, no, but it means that she's supporting and loving. But it's really funny. It was a really funny exchange. I was dying laughing. It was so fun. But anyways, who are your two number 9s?
Yeah, so I'm having to like kind of get beyond because I've been for so long thinking about Grey Worm as my number 6, as a very defensive-minded player, and I'm having trouble seeing him as a striker. I get your reasoning, but I'm trying to make that connection in my head. So my 2 strikers, I modeled my strike partnership off of Inter Milan's strike partnership of Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez.
Solid.
So I've got an underneath floating number 9, like a false 9, and then I've got a target number 9.
Yeah.
My underneath number 9 is, unsurprisingly, Arya Stark.
There we go.
It has to be.
That was what I was going for as well.
Yeah, it has to be Arya. It has to be. She's absolutely lethal.
Yeah.
She's diminutive and unassuming, but after her assassin training and Bravos for a very large part of the series, once she comes back from that, she's just like absolutely, she's going to be deadly in front of goal.
Kind of like Messi playing that false 9 position, pulling the strings and everything, and very deceptive, but she is going to score and she's going to get those assists.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you missed my pun as well. She's going to be deadly in front of goal after all of her assassin training and all the killing she does. Come on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Come
Sorry.
on. I mean, I know you're the king of dad jokes and puns on this, but like I even wrote in "badum ching" beside my joke.
I mean, like every character in here is deadly.
Your thread the needle was better. Yes. Your thread the needle was better. I'm kind of disappointed I didn't think of that one. But she also spends like most of the series on solo adventures. She's on her own most of the time, so she's really resourceful, very skillful. She can adapt to any situation. I'm pretty confident that I can let her roam and give her a completely free role to do whatever she wants, because she is so good on her own and she's so good at adapting to different situations. She's going to be able to find the right pockets and just have that completely free role. And I also know, as we know from the finale of the show, that Arya is going to deliver in big moments for me.
Yeah, definitely.
She will deliver in big moments. And then my target number 9 is the Night King, who is the first White Walker and leader of the Army of the Dead. I really don't think I need to explain this one much, because the Night King is going to be cold as ice, absolutely single-minded and brutally efficient in what I want him to do: score goals. That's all I need him to do, is just score goals. Plus, can you imagine rolling up and being a center back and playing against the Night King?
Yeah, just don't let him touch you.
Yeah. As soon as he posts you up, you're done.
Oh my. Yeah, so I feel like we're in the same thought category in terms of what we want from our strikers. You just went for the more literal sense of someone who's like going to be icy and cold with his finishing. I went for someone who's going to be also very stoic and not very dramatic with his finishing ability. Yeah. So I think we're in the same realm of thought.
We went for a target number 9. You went for Grey Worm. I went for the Night King, and we're both playing with Arya Stark as our underneath number 9.
Exactly.
So the 2 places where we matched up were Arya as our underneath number 9 and Jon Snow as our number 8, which, as kind of my 2 favorite characters in the whole series, I'm pretty happy about that. So to kind of give a rundown of my team, again, I've got Tormund Giantsbane in goal.
Solid.
Cersei Lannister flanked by Tywin Lannister and Ned Stark at center back. I've got Bronn at right wing back, Tyrion Lannister at left wing back, Grey Worm in the 6, Jon Snow with the captain's armband in the 8, Peter Littlefinger Baelish at the 10, and then Arya Stark and the Night King as my strike partnership.
It's a pretty solid team. I still am questioning your back line. I like mine a little bit better, but of course I'm going to be biased.
Do your rundown.
So my rundown. You've beaten me in goal. I'll concede that. I have Brienne of Tarth, which is funny now that I think of it, because Tormund is madly in love with Brienne, so they're kind of complementary.
There's a big rivalry
there's kind of complementary figures right there. And then my center back, so I have Mance Rayder in the center of my back 3 with the Clegane brothers, the Mountain and the Hound on either side of them.
Okay.
My wing backs are going to be Khal Drogo and Ygritte.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of the park, I got Jon Snow and Euron Greyjoy going to be that double pivot. Yep. And then I got my attacking mid, Oberyn Martell, the Red Viper.
Yeah.
And then I got my strikers, Grey Worm and Arya Stark.
Okay. I think my assessment of everything is, I do think that your back line, your back 3 at least, is potentially has better chemistry than mine.
Yes.
I think I might have better players, but I think they might fall apart. I'm not sure. You point out some good things. I feel a little bit better about my attacking players, though. Like, I feel a little bit better with the Night King up top. I think Littlefinger is a better number 10 than Oberyn, and I think Grey Worm is a defensive player. I just can't wrap my head around his Grey Worm as a number 9. I just can't do it.
Oh, well, that makes sense, but the entire series, the reason why I have him as an attacking, he's always attacking. Because they don't defend other than the Winterfell, battle for Winterfell. He's always ransacking or whatever, pillaging and everything.
I think my thought with it, though, is that everything he's doing is intended to defend Daenerys. Like, everything he does is for her and to protect her. Do you know what I mean? And it's on her order. So I just see him as protecting my back line. But we can get into semantics with that all day long, right? Let's kind of go into kind of our extra little honorable mentions as we wrap up the episode here. Do you have kind of any honorable mention players first that you kind of just want to give a shout out to that were really close to making the cut? I've got a whole bench here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but
the first one was Daenerys. Yeah. I wanted her to get into that.
It just felt like she should be in there, right?
Yeah. I'm like, she's too important of a character. But then I realized I'm not going to put a character in here just because they're important to the show. I want them in there because they're going to be important to my team. And so she was definitely one of them. I think Sansa was an honorable mention.
Yeah.
I think that the brother who got murdered at the Red Wedding, Robb Stark was also just because he was really good attacking.
Yeah.
And then also Cersei's brother, Jaime Lannister. And so those were all like kind of honorable mentions. More forward, I think my back line and stuff, I was kind of set in those ways.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of who I have potentially.
Yeah. So I lied earlier. I'm going to run through my bench real quick because I feel pretty good about the options I have off of the bench. So my backup goalkeeper is the Hound, Sandor Clegane. Just really consistent, like Willie Caballero type backup. Yeah. Then my target 9 to come off the bench is Khal Drogo.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, who else do you want? Like, he's my Alan Gordon late super sub. Who else do I want? If I'm down a goal and just need to pump balls into the box and pump crosses in, Khal Drogo just up there rising for the headers. My back line sub is Sir Davos Seaworth. He's my Caesar Azpilicueta. I can put him anywhere along my back 5, and he's going to do a job.
Yeah,
so I really like him. Mance Raider's my 6 or 8 sub, just another leader. Brienne of Tarth is my other center back. I just felt like she was too naive to start. Sirio Forel is my backup, like underneath number 9, 10. I think he's going to be that really experienced hand that's going to help Arya reach a higher level.
Not even Oberyn Martell. I would have Oberyn Martell over him any day.
I think Sirio is going to be my David Silva, what David Silva has been recently. Like how David Silva shepherded Phil Foden through. Yeah. That's how I see Sirio shepherding Arya through. That's a really big nerd out. But
wow. That's a really convoluted point too.
And then Jaime Lannister as well is just like my flexible forward to bring in as well. So that's kind of my bench. Those were kind of my honorable mentions. Those were Matt's honorable mentions. Let's talk about some other things. Who is your manager?
So for my manager, I have Tyrion Lannister.
You have Tyrion. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering where Tyrion was going to come in for you.
I mean, I think I was looking at it. I was looking at my team from more of like a physical, but also character trait aspect. And so I was just like, okay, well, he's never been in the fighting. He could get on the field. We saw that at the Battle of the Blackwater. He got his hands dirty, but he's just not very good on the field. So I feel like there's a lot of coaches that weren't great players that became great managers. Yeah. And so he's not really good at swinging the hammer, but he's good at sitting behind the desk and pulling the strings. And
that's
being
a really
that
good shout. That's a really good shout. I like that. I like that a lot. So my manager, let me finish my beer here.
Yeah, there you go.
Is Daenerys Targaryen.
Nope.
Let me sell it to you.
Good
okay?
luck.
If I'm going to have a team that has all of these Game of Thrones characters, so many huge personalities, so many people from different backgrounds, I need a leader that can pull all of those people together, which we see Daenerys do throughout the show as she travels through kind of like the East, and she keeps collecting all these different types of followers, Westerosis, Eastern people, the slave warriors, all this kind of stuff. She just gets this massive following of all different types of people. So I think she can become a leader. And here is my comparison for her, okay? I see Daenerys Targaryen as my Jose Mourinho. I'm looking at the classic Jose Mourinho 3-year cycle here. I think Daenerys is going to come in. She's going to struggle initially as the manager, as she does early in the series. She struggles as a leader, trying to find her footing. She makes a lot of mistakes. It's not a great first season, but it's okay. Mm-hmm. Then in the second season, she's going to find all of her momentum, and our team is going to be absolutely fearsome. It may all come crashing down around us in year 3, as it normally does for Jose Mourinho teams.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with it if she can take me to Champions League glory in year 2. And especially with the way I've built my back line, right? Mm-hmm. The quibble you pointed out with the lack of chemistry that might be there, right? That's not a back line that's going to be my back line of 15 years. Yeah. That's my back line that I just need them to pull together for my one incredible season under Daenerys Targaryen, and then I can sack her after year 3 and find someone like maybe like Tyrion retires. I can make him my manager because I like your manager choice as well.
I think Tyrion.
But there's my sell. I mean, like, you were pretty skeptical at the beginning. Like, how was my sell for Daenerys Targaryen?
I think the doing like a comparison with Jose Mourinho is very, very good.
I'm not arguing that Daenerys is going to be my manager for the next 10 years.
No, it fits in terms of a football sense. It fits in terms of Game of Thrones sense because she starts off low, she has a major high, and then it all comes crumbling and crushing down just like King's Landing in season 8.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's very good. Wouldn't be who I'd want to appoint as my manager. That's fair. That's an opinion. But I want someone who's going to be a little bit more stable. My Arsene Wenger, who's going to be there for 20, 25 years, all about the philosophy, really connect with the players and have a good vision. I have as my general manager of the club, I have Bran Stark.
Oh, I thought you were going to go for Varys.
No.
Because I went for Varys.
Yes.
Like, obviously, I went for Varys the Spider.
I went for Bran Stark, who is the seer, pretty much. So he is a visionary businessman who's able to see the different character traits and players. So he would be good at scouting, and so he would be able to see people's potential and their future and the decisions that they'd have to make and appoint the right people that will go along well together. And ultimately, he's someone that's kind of behind the scenes. But whenever a Champions League winning or like a treble winning side comes into fruition, you look at the general manager and he gets praise in that moment. Yep. And just like in the series, he's always unnoticed in the whole series. He's just in there for like a little 5-10 minute segment.
Right.
And then he becomes eventually the king of Westeros at the end.
Yeah. I think that's a good choice. I went for Varys, the
also
spider.
Also a good pick.
Right, who just has connections everywhere with his like quote little birds. It's referenced throughout the
books
and the
lead
series.
Scout.
He was your lead scout.
Yes, he was directing my scouting network.
I think Varys, he's going to help us strike all those deals because he has so many connections. That's a really good shout as your scouting network director. My kind of thing with Varys was his moves as a GM may not always make the most sense on face value. I think GMs get ripped a lot for making moves, but I will know as the owner of my club that Varys is always doing everything he does for the good of my team and for the good of the realm.
Yeah, that's a good.
Which Varys does throughout this series, right? He's constantly making little moves, and his motives aren't clear until the end that he's really there, not for a leader, but for the good of the realm. And so I know that Varys, as my general manager, won't get too attached to my manager. He won't get too attached to some of my players. He will always keep the bigger picture of my club in mind and always be pushing that vision. So I feel really good about Varys as my general manager.
He hopped off that Dany wagon as soon as he saw her kind of get that crazy streak, and he was like, we need to get rid of her. Yep. Jon Snow, you need to kill her.
Yep.
And so that's a good shout. I think the last thing that I have on my list, and I think that we've already talked about, is our kit man.
Oh yeah, this is a great way to finish it.
Everyone knows that the kit man is one of the most pivotal people within a club. Yeah. He creates that culture.
Explain what a kit man is for people that might not be familiar with it.
So a kit man is quite literally the person who provides the kits. So he's the person who's going to be putting the jerseys on people in the locker rooms and stuff. He's going to be putting the cleats at the lockers, the socks, all the gear.
Yeah.
He's the one who has that really personal connection with the players, but on like a fun level. It's not anything about performance with the kit man. It's just about having some banter. And so we laughed. This was the only thing that we shared with each other before the episode. All of this has been off the cuff, by the way, until this. We had Podrick.
Oh yeah, Podrick Payne, the famous squire
Who
of
else?
Tyrion Lannister. I mean, who else? Like, who else than the guy who has probably one of the funniest scenes in the series, where like he's a virgin and they buy a bunch of prostitutes for him, and he comes back in and the prostitutes refuse to pay him, and just Tyrion's face is probably one of the best scenes in the entire series. And who else than Podrick to be our Kitman?
And for a series that is so morbid and is so serious, Podrick is one of the only characters that brings that sheer laughter throughout.
Yeah.
It's not forced or anything. He's just hilarious, and he just brings everyone back to, you know, a sense of a humanity, which would be important in a team, especially if Daenerys is going to be your manager. You need someone to kind of lighten the mood a little bit, more so than the players, because they got the performance aspect that they got to deal with and the pressure from the fans. So I think that that's a really good way to conclude with it, and an awesome
100%.
Awesome
I think that I went for immediate short-term success, and then I'll figure it out later because I've got Varys as my general manager. You went for a much more stable, long-term club vision, which I think is interesting how we kind of approached it in different ways.
You came with an MLS perspective of a general manager, knowing that, you know, 1 year you can be down in the dumps and the next year you could be winning a championship. I'm out here trying to create, you know, an invincible season with slowly but surely keeping a steady progress of success.
I mean, I do have my core of players, right? I've got like my core of players that are going to be my core. My center backs, I feel, I think you might be right. I think they might be my weakness, but we'll see. But I really, really enjoyed this. I can see why Daryl Grove and Taylor Rockwell have so much fun doing these types of episodes or doing these types of episodes for Total Soccer Show. It was pretty cool and special to do something like this that mattered so much to Daryl and Daryl had so much fun with. And I think it's a good reminder sometimes that we need to remember the softness in the world and the lighter side of things, and remember that we're here watching soccer, talking about soccer on a podcast, posting about soccer on social media because we love the game and we love the entertainment it brings, and that's what it's supposed to be. And I think too often we get to the point where we feel like we need to be hard on players, and we feel like we need to be so strict and like this is about results only, and this is a business, and ultimately it's entertainment, and ultimately we need to have fun. And so I just had a ton of fun doing this.
Likewise. I think that whenever I would listen to these episodes with Daryl and Taylor, I could hear the smiles on their face through audio. They've made the culture of that podcast is something that I really think can't be replicated, because I've never met either of them. I've never met them. I've only been listening to them for like the last year or two when I started finding podcasts for soccer. But having followed them for the last year or two, I was devastated this whole last week, because they made you part of a family. You had a seat at the table, and it was just fun and lighthearted. You got to learn a ton of stuff, but you really ultimately, that compassion, it went from the mic, and you could hear it in your earbuds or however you were listening to it. And it was just palpable. And so I think that this was something that's honorable to him and his memory. And like I've said, my thoughts and prayers are with Taylor Rockwell and your family, and because I know that your family was close as well with Daryl and the Grove family. For like the last 11 years.
However long they've been doing it.
5 days a week since 2009. I can't imagine the devastation you're feeling, but we just wanted to honor Daryl's memory, honor the memory of y'all's podcast in the sense of co-hosting together, because that's something that I will never forget. And I will keep on supporting people. When you're listening to this, go and tweet or go and message them on the Total Soccer Show Instagram or Twitter. And go message Taylor something encouraging, something just personal to them, because I know that in this time of loss they will be mourning, but I love how they're celebrating Daryl this whole last week since he's passed away.
Yeah, I totally agree. This was something special, and Daryl Grove is going to be someone that I think the American soccer culture is never going to forget. He's laid a major foundation for just what American soccer is today. I do not think that American soccer would be where it is today, and especially American soccer culture and fan culture would be where it is today without Daryl being that guiding voice and almost that narrator through all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think MLS Extra Time, the podcast with Daryl, or not Daryl, with Weeby, Andrew Weeby.
With Andrew Weeby and all them,
Yeah, they just did a commemoration to Daryl as well, and they had a really cool idea of nominating, somehow trying to figure out the nomination for the award of the podcaster of the year or the sports broadcaster of the year, trying to get it named the Daryl Grove Award. And I think that's honorable. I think that's respectful to Daryl Grove's work, because it's not just about the content, like we said. It's about the heart and about the community and doing something that's really going to inspire people. Because I aspire to be half of what Daryl Grove was, in terms of a husband, in terms of a friend, and in terms of a podcast host.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think I can say it any better than that. So in memory of Daryl Grove, I am Will Martin.
And I'm Matt McCutcheon.
And this is What the FC.